submits to Krark's desire. Twilight air, sparks fly as they clash, don't care. Radar roars, ripping skies apart. Steel and fury, flame from the heart. Terror charges with iron rage. Machine roar echoes war stage. Pterodactyl cries cut into night. Fight for dominion, primal fight. Splashing in the dark, battle cries light up the spark. Radars and turrets tearing apart. Robot world at the bleeding start. Roadblocks splashing in the dark, battle cries light up the spark. Radars and turrets tearing apart. Robot world at the bleeding start. Gears grind with each deadly swoop. Orders just creating battle soup. Skyline burns with every hit. Metal warriors refusing to quit. Lightning strikes as talons clash. Iron teeth fight in a flash. Pterodactyl roars won't back down in this world of steel and crown. Grinding gears and shattered dreams. Echoes of metallic screams. Fight to rule the robot skies. Death and thunder fill their eyes. Clashing in the dark, battle cries light up the spark. Radars and terrors tearing apart. Robot world at the bleeding start. Roadblocks crashing in the dark, battle cries light up the spark. Radars and terrors tearing apart. Robot world at the bleeding start. Gears grind with each deadly swoop. Monsters creating battle soup. Skyline burns with every hit. Metal warriors refusing to quit. Lightning strikes as talons clash. Iron teeth fight in a flash. Pterodactyl roars won't back down in this world of steel and crown. Grinding gears and shattered dreams. Echoes of metallic screams. Fight to rule the robot skies. Death and thunder fill their eyes. dinosaur, my intensity's craving. Unity of written for the taking. The rules of our galaxy is for breaking. Crushing metal stars, the battlefield burning. Krark's vision, not bitter glory, yearning. Prince of chaos and power never bending. He'll lead the Zoids to dawn unending. Krark, the darkness rising. On Zoidstar he's advising. Planets quaking and shaking. Future bright for dark royalty are awakening. Thunder rides the warrior prince, blazing trails of fire, shadows can't resist. Armies of red and blue battles persist. Planet Zoidstar and beyond he'll enlist. Whisper tales of Krark and Roman knights of the darker tyrants. Zoidstar's endless fight. Hope and fear entwined, wings and flight. Victory or ruin, prison crimson star. Krark, the darkness rising.